Okay, welcome back guys to another episode of the FS7 Mark II. Modifying it or getting it to the way I need it to operate, or I guess ergonomically fit my needs. This might not be the needs you want, but it could give you some ideas on how to set it up, maybe the way you might want to. Now I do not plan on shoulder mounting this rig, so this control arm is not really the ideal setup for me, because I like to place my camera on the ground, and with it like this, it kind of sits kind of funny because this thing has a bend in it and it makes the control arm actually sit lower than the base of the camera. So what I did is I ordered a small rig dog bone adapter. Now this thing, when I got it in, it's really tiny, or a lot smaller than the factory one, but it does fit. The description also said it's for the FS7, but when I wrote to them that this, actually let me take this off to so you can see what I mean. Pretty much it's these 4 Torx screws, which I can't find the right size. Okay, right here, the right size. Okay, so these 4 little Torx screws comes off. Now you see how the 4 screws go in, and then there's these 2 little knobs here that kind of like secure into here. I guess that's to help relieving the stress off the screws when you're trying to adjust the handle. But you see how this one has the splines? These splines match up nicely here. Oh, and another thing, I did another video on how these screws are plastic on the top. So if you over tighten it and then you try to unscrew it, sometimes it'll round out. Mine all rounded out already, so it's a little bit loose, and if you tighten it too much, it's hard to come out. I have to actually use pliers to screw it out. But this one is actually all metal. This is from Small Rig. It came with the dog bone, but I'm not sure if you can order these separately. You can try and email them, but you can change your factory ones out with these ones, and I think they'll work great because these are metal and it works the same way too. You screw it in, you can actually lift it up and adjust it, and it's all metal. Maybe Sony should call Small Rig and see if they can supply them the screws, and they can ship them out with with their screws. But anyway, back to the dog bone here. So they say this is for the FS7, which does fit this part good, but there's no way this will mount to this, because this is splines and this is like a flat piece, and there's no holes or divots for these knobs to sit in. So you can take these off and you won't see any divots either. So I wrote to Small Rig to find out, you know, this says for FS7, but yet it doesn't really fit. It says it fits all these other ones too, like RE and all that, but when you actually look at it, they sent me an email saying that it's you need an adapter for this piece to mount to this. So the adapter mounts to this, then it mounts to this, well actually the spline part, and then it fits on this way. But I'm trying to go for an ergonomic way where I can mount or sit my camera flush on the ground like this, as well as narrow to fit in my bag, in my camera bags. Now if you look at this already sits an 1.5 inches out from the camera. I wish they made this straight, but they don't, so I had to get this one. Or I didn't see any straight dog bone. It was this angled one. But it sits 1.5 inches away from the camera, and then with an adapter it's like another 1.5 inches too, so you're 3 inches. This controller will sit like 3 inches away, and that's too far out. I want it as flush or as close to the lens as possible. So if they had a straight dog bone, definitely that would work a lot better, but you know, they had this one, so I'll just work around this. But getting the adapter is not ideal because it's sitting too far out. So I'm trying to see if I can modify this to fit it directly. So what I plan on doing is drilling, measuring out 2 of these divots, just drilling it out a little so they'll sit in it, as well as drilling out the holes so I can use the torque screws to fit in here. The best way to do this is with a drill press. I do not own one, so we're gonna have to go to my grandpa's house to finish the or at least drill it out, and then we can finish it up back here. But this dog bone is actually a pretty solid piece. It's machined very well. The finish is very nice. Doesn't really match the whole ergonomic of this, but then again, neither does this top plate, so it kind of matches that. So yeah, actually before we go down and drill it out, let's make a template. I'm always about templates or patterns. They're always make life easier, especially when this part was, I think, $40. So you don't want to make, you don't want to really screw it up. You want to make sure that it works out very well. So the way I'm going to do this pattern is, if you buy those packs of batteries, those AA batteries, they come in these things, and plastic. So I'm going to make my pattern out of plastic. I feel it's a lot easier to see through and mark, make your markings. But yeah, you don't want to kind of screw up an expensive piece like this. But basically what you're trying to do is get a pattern of this, all the screw holes, and these little divots here, or not divots, but these knobs that stick out. Get a pattern of that so we can transfer it to this, so we can make sure that the holes we drill is precise, because you don't want this to be loose. I think the screws should hold it pretty well in the position, but yet, this is a good stress reliever on the screws, so you don't want it loose and jiggling around, I guess, but it should be fine. But also, if this is off, the screw holes will not line up. Okay, so you want to make sure that these are pretty accurate, because the holes won't line up. You're gonna have to drill this out bigger. I mean, it's up to you if you want to modify this, but I definitely want to try, because another thing is that the part is like $20 pre-order, and they need 100 orders in order for them to start making it. So if it takes a long time to get 100, you could be waiting a long time. So I don't want to wait. I don't want it to be even further out from the camera. I want everything as close to the lens as possible. Like I said, if this was straight, that would be even better. I would have more narrower camera to fit in my bag, and that's the goal. Ergonomically for packing in my bag, as well as ergonomically for the style and the way I shoot. So let's get this pattern going. not that bad. Right there. Perfect. Now we can mark the holes for the where the screws sit. Because now these holes, these screw holes, you just want to drill it just big enough to fit these threading through, where it can just fall through but not be loose. Because we're going to actually have to drill countersink deep in, because if you look, these screws won't fit lengthwise. So we're going to have to actually drill in to where the head can come pretty much around here. So that's going to be some precision drilling, and that's why I said we need a drill press. Okay, so now what we could do, just sit it back on here, grab these screws to make sure that they fit in each hole and they're not off center. Making patterns are always fun and easy, because if you make a mistake, no biggie. Because on the actual product, you make a mistake, problem. Okay, so everything fits snug. These holes are perfect. And there you go, we got our pattern. So now we just need to transfer this onto this, and we should be good. Okay guys, so I couldn't wait. I didn't use a drill press, I just used a regular drill, hand drill, and cordless. And this is what I got. Use a template to drill out this piece, and it sits flush, pretty flush, if you can see right here, pretty flush to the handle here. It's pretty solid, and this is the dog bone from Small Rig. I'll post I guess the part what this was, but yeah, that's it. Put it to the camera. Like I said, this screw, if you're going to keep the factory one and you want to change it out, because the factory ones are plastic and they round it out, this one's all metal and it's pretty good. You might want to see if Small Rig can sell just those. This is the M6 threading, but there you go. So now you see how it does sit further away than I would want it to, because if it was straight, if the dog bone was straight, it'll pretty much be this close to the camera. So I would be able to bring this in at least 1.5 inches more closer to the lens for a narrower camera, or narrower ergonomics of the camera. But it is what it is, and it's still, at least it can sit flat. You know, I don't have it, it doesn't have to canter. I can sit it flat on the ground or table or whatever I put it on, and not have to worry about the thing tipping over on one side, because this is lower than the base of the camera. So if you look at side view, you can see it doesn't sit past this. So I can sit this flat on the ground, and actually I can yeah, turn it right there like that. So it's just flat now, and that's pretty much how it works. Took me about 10 minutes, yeah, maybe 10 to 15 minutes to drill it out, because originally these holes, you know, where these screws are set, they're actually a little bit smaller than the holes, so they don't really line up that well. So I had to kind of pull the bit out from each corner and drill it down to kind of open up that hole to match these. So That was a little bit tricky part. Other than that, I mean, you gotta be real careful that it's kind of close to the edges over here. So I'm not an engineer, so I don't know exactly like the specs, if it's really strong and so forth. So you might not want to like use, I guess, use this to carry the camera. You know, always use the handle, and don't just do one-handed like this. You can see I'm doing it right now, but you know, I don't know how strong this would be, but I mean, it's fairly strong right now. But yeah, definitely I recommend it. Well, I'm gonna run it like this. I like it, but up to you guys if you guys want to do this, or just buy this and the adapter, or just do a whole different solution. But this gives you an idea on what you can do to, I guess, get it to work the way you want. Mahalo.